What advice could you say to those the younger generation that are trying to do that are trying to build companies, that have aspirations and goals of things that, they either shouldn't worry about or they should worry less about?
I mean, so many things are process.
Mm-hmm.
Right? We can have a goal. We can have a goal to do something. You can have a goal to, I want to get my college degree, or I want to do this or do that. But you can have that goal, but it's really more about the process. How are you going about that?
Mm-hmm.
How are you going about doing those things?
Beyond the Blueprint, welcome back on episode 2 with Paul Goddard at Impal General Contractors. I'm your host, Branson Bowen, and we're going to dive into Impal General Contractors and some of the things that Paul has experienced and his challenges along the way, and the up-and-coming new next 5 years or 10 years, what Impal looks like. So let's go over some of your experiences, right? So, the past 3 years have been a challenging time, not only for the industry as a whole. If you look at economically and where everything's been at in the past, 2 to 3 years, and then also where we're at today. But also you've experienced some unique things in your life and in your company. So if you're open to it, let's share a little bit about kind of what that was like.
Yeah, so cruised along in life, and in February 2020, my partner leaned across the table and says to me, I have breast cancer. And, my whole world gets real small.
Yeah.
And she was also the CFO of our organization. And, she and I got together and, rubbed 2 pennies together and in the beginning, and we grew this great big life and 4 kids and a business, and, we did it together.
Mm-hmm.
And when she says I have breast cancer, really, I look back on it now and just a lot of shock. And so during that course of, getting biopsies and meeting with surgeons and getting MRIs and PET scans and meeting with an oncologist, and right about the time we were finding out she was stage 4, was right about this time that was this thing happening in the world. You may have heard of it, called COVID.
Mm-hmm.
So we already were in fear and in shock. And then here comes this hot, wet blanket of fear. Right. So, we were separated from the organization because of a cancer diagnosis. And then COVID happens and you can't be around anybody.
Sure.
And there was a period of time where my children wouldn't hug their mom,
mm-hmm.
because if they gave her COVID and she died, they couldn't deal with that, right? Understandably. So we start down the path of chemotherapy and trying to heal. And again, my full focus went from running a business, running an organization, to, if the kids get sent home from school, my son's sent home from his freshman year in college, and, we're all huddled up in a house.
Sure.
and cooking food and taking care of mom. And it was a scary time. It was really, a lot of uncertainty,
mm-hmm.
right? Not knowing what's going to happen. And it was a long, 20 months later, she says, I'm done. I'm done eating. I'm going to stop. We got to the end.
Yeah.
And, I tell people I don't remember September, October, November 2021. When that happens to you, you're this person that you built a life with, you spent 20 years with. It changes you,
mm-hmm.
right? And, I tell people, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, I was the go-to 15% of the time, on my best day for my kids, right? On my best day, and now I'm all they got.
Yeah.
So, I'm a different dad. I'm a different friend. I'm a different human. I'm a different partner. I'm a different leader for my organization after having gone through all of that. So it took me, she died October 7th, 21. It took me a good year and 3 months to come out of the fog.
Mm-hmm.
I just was in a fog, and my primary focus was my kids. My primary focus was, how am I going to make sure that they're going to be okay?
Right.
And she was the CFO, so I had to get another CFO. And We had done that before Victoria passed. And so I stayed in contact, from high level, just looking at numbers. But, I ended up having to step back in. I had offered the group that was running it, would you like to buy this? And they said, no. And I said, I need to kind of step back in so I understand how this widget works. And when I got back, it was a very, very different organization than the one that, we had turned over. Yeah, the one that I had, entrusted. So I started asking questions, and the more questions I asked, the more questions I had, the more questions I had, the more defensive people got, and the more defensive people got, the more contentious it got. And, I just now 8 months later, finished a very, very not finished, but most of the way through a really, really challenging reorganization, restructuring, trying to regain reputation. Reputation was tarnished badly in many different, market sectors, with partners, architectural partners, sub partners, lots of subs still aren't paid to this day, still trying to work it out, still trying to work through these things, and the desire is to get everybody whole, make these things, kind of be the responsible person. Somebody had to show up and stand in front of owners and say, I'm your responsible person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and that takes a very significant leadership quality to be able to do that, especially, 3 years out, right? You haven't been there 3 years, and to step in, and say, look, it's on me, and I'm gonna take responsibility, and I'm gonna fix it. Right. That's a very significant leadership quality that you've possessed and you've taken a hold of. So, admiration to you for that, for sure. How would you say, a lot of people don't necessarily get to experience the reorganization and, the build back of a company, right? A lot of people, they'll build a company, start from scratch, continue, and it might be very gradual, it might be super fast. Not a lot of people get to experience that. And partially because of experience, right, and scenarios that happen. What would you say was the biggest challenge while you're trying to restructure the company after going through such a tough time personally, and being able to heal from that emotionally, but also try to continue to build a company back to what it was when you left?
The biggest challenge, wow. I mean, just the amount of information. The term I used, stepping back in. And again, there was a mass exodus. There were 8 people that walked out.
Mm-hmm.
And in the first 5 days, less than the first 5 days, I had 8 people that either had resigned or were unceremoniously terminated in my absence. That I called one of them up on a Wednesday afternoon at 3:30. I said, hey, how are you? Hey. I said, I could use some help. I'll be there tomorrow morning.
Mm-hmm.
I had 2 people that were a husband and wife dynamic duo team. I met with them that same Wednesday evening. They said, we'll come back. I said, great. Then when? Monday. I said, it's Wednesday, right? They said, our people already know. And I was shocked that, I had so many people came back so quickly that had worked together.
Right.
They knew each other. Those people showed up that Monday and people were hugging.
Mm-hmm.
How are you? How are your children? How's your family? But the biggest challenge, I think, was the amount of information, the amount I was drinking from a fire hose, and it was 16-hour days, just sleepless nights, trying to wrap my head around the magnitude of the situation. And new things coming up every day, and just trying to rebuild an organization and regain. We had about 7 projects that were really, really challenging in challenging places. Delayed, a substantial amount of change orders because of just total mismanagement, and stepping into that type of situation. You had no time to think. You just acted.
Right.
You just did. And finished every project. And these owners are, I mean, they have every reason to be really, really not happy. And
Right.
they're a little happy, which is kind of nice. And I think most of them understand, like, wow, it's really good that, that we came back, that I was able to put a team back together. But I think originally it was just getting all of the information, because I was disconnected for 3 years.
Right.
Yeah.
Like you said, you drink it from a fire hose.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and it says a lot about your reputation and the relationships that you built very early in your career. That you go through this 3-year process and you're dealing with your personal stuff, rightfully so. And the organization is kind of fallen apart in a sense. And the moment you get back, you have an ability to call past employees, past subs, past owners, or current, and just immediately pick up where you left off. So to you, how important was that, and what did you realize during those moments whenever people had just an unwavering loyalty to really who you are and the relationship that you built with those people? What was something that kind of really clicked in your head, like, okay, this is what it was about, and these are the people that are going to stay with me?
So at one point early on, I would wake up every day, right? Every day. And I used to wake up and jump out of bed immediately, but now I wake up and I kind of lay there for a minute and I think about, okay, what came to me? What answers came? And kind of sit for a second, be still. And, okay, I'll do that. Yep, that's a good idea. Do that, do that, do that. Maybe 3 things, right? One day I woke up and I was just tears of gratitude. Like, I cannot believe these people came back.
Right.
So I asked every single person, I said, what was it about the experience you had here before that made you want to come back? And the first person I asked, she says, you cared as much about my son graduating high school as I did. This place was team. If you were falling down, people didn't pile on top of you. They offered you a way to get up. It was always team. It was always about the bigger picture, and every single person gave me virtually the same response. Was an organization where everybody looked out for everybody else, and we were all doing, we were doing a challenging thing, right? Construction, as you said, is a challenging industry. It's not, this ain't like tennis or golf. You don't just show up and play. This is like rugby.
Right.
It's a contact sport. You don't just show up and play rugby.
Right.
Yeah. So you have to really love this industry. And it's literally blood, sweat, and tears.
Sure.
And so to have a team of people accomplishing things, we were accomplishing things. And we celebrated our accomplishments. We celebrated when we were awarded a project. And you certainly celebrated when you got a CO. And you celebrated owners. And you just the little things. It's along the way.
Today's episode is brought to you by Bryce Knuth of Insurance Office of America. As a contractor or real estate owner in Florida, you've likely experienced the impact of rising insurance premiums year after year. With the challenging insurance marketplace, having a specialist who focuses on your industry is critical now more than ever before. If you'd like a second set of eyes on your current insurance program or don't have a relationship with your current broker, please contact Bryce Knuth at 407-697-6944 via call or text, or email bryce.knuth@ioausa.com. Don't let rising insurance costs catch you off guard. Reach out to Bryce today. And so you had mentioned a few things kind of shifted. You said you're a better father.
Right.
You're a better business owner. You're a better friend.
Better leader.
So
Right.
What are those things that really shifted in your mind to make you better at those things?
What are those things that shifted in my mind? I don't know that anything shifted in my mind. I think it just shifted in my heart.
Yeah.
Things that used to bother me before don't bother me as much now. I tell people, one of the challenging things when I first came back was, I could pick up the phone and I could call somebody. some of them I haven't talked to in 3 years. Now, it was just like I talked to them last week, but I had to recant my last 3 years.
Mm-hmm.
I did that like 5 times a day for 3 weeks because you were having to connect, right? Because it's all about connections. It's all about relationship. And again, I knew some of these people when their children were born or when they got married, or so you create this life with these people and you're wishing them all success. You want to see them be successful. So I think I had a good, clear understanding of what was important. What I thought was important 3 years ago is just I probably had 80% of it right, but I worry a lot less now. I trust the universe a lot more because it will absolutely provide for you, whether you know it or not. You can fight and fight and fight and fight and struggle and strive and stay up till midnight and get up at 4 a.m. and, all these things. But, I probably could have stressed a whole lot less the last 20 years and been as successful or.
Yeah. So, and we'll kind of dive into that. So if you could offer like some advice for, you got a lot of young professionals that are moving and shaking. They're trying to do everything that they can. They're waking up early. They're trying to make a million phone calls. They're, trying to get the next deal. With your new perspective of your heart shift, what advice could you say to those the younger generation that are trying to do that are trying to build companies, that have aspirations and goals of things that they either shouldn't worry about or they should worry less about? Is there anything specific that you would give to someone?
I mean, so many things are process. Right? We can have a goal. We can have a goal to do something. You can have a goal to, I want to get my college degree, or I want to do this or do that. But you can have that goal, but it's really more about the process. How are you going about that? How are you going about doing those things? We're in football season now, so every single football team, well, almost every single football team wants to win the Super Bowl, but there's a process that that goes about. There was a team, that has good processes, and they're going to do well. So I think it's about your process and the way that you approach things. And again, I'm a simple guy, so there's something I work to do every day. So I have a little book. I don't have it with me, but I write down 3 things I absolutely, positively have to do today to move the ball forward or to keep some plate spinning. If I don't do these 3 things today, it would be detrimental. So you're choosing, these are the 3 right things to focus on, right? It's not just doing things right, it's doing the right things right.
Right.
And then what 3 things am I going to give away? What 3 things can I delegate? What 3 things can I hand off? What 3 things can I take that need to be done, but that I can entrust in somebody else to do? And it well within their skill set. So that gives somebody an opportunity to be successful. And then 3 things that I would do for myself, whether that be work out, meditate, something, right? What is those 3 things? And usually I can get to 6 of those. I fall a little short when I try to take care of ourselves.
So you got 4 kids. Do you put them in those things, or is it just all one?
2.
Spend time with kids.
Yeah. That's where technology helps.
Yeah.
Right. Where I watch the sunrise every day I can.
Yeah. Right.
Deliberately. I live over on the coast. So, watching that big fiery ball rise, and a little bit of meditation, talk to the universe and talk to source, and I'll take a picture and I'll send it to the tribe, and some piece of dad wisdom, brush your teeth.
Yeah.
Not really, but something, right?
Sure.
And they just think I'm a dork. But yeah.
That'll pay dividends. It might not pay dividends right now, but I think later on, for sure, they'll probably look back at that and say,
Dad was a dork.
Yeah. Right.
Yeah.
Or they might implement that with their kids.
They
you
may.
never know how that goes.
They may.
So last question was, to someone who's interested in construction and maybe interested in starting a construction business,
Right.
what things do you think that they could do now to try to prepare for that? Right. Obviously, opportunity and experiences are a little different, right? Um, but how can someone who's maybe young in their career, whether they're either graduating college or getting into the industry, and they have that aspiration of building a general contracting firm, what specific advice would you give to someone that's kind of in that atmosphere of their life?
Find a mentor.
Yeah.
Accept the fact that you're going to make no money for 3 years.
Yeah. What does a good mentor look like?
What does a good mentor look like? So the mentor that picked up on me early on wasn't, he understood me better than I understood me. Sometimes, we can look at younger people and be like, oh, I remember being there, and so he picked up on me, and he understood me better than I understood me. I mean, I know that now. He actually was somebody that walked to the end with me, with my wife, was there every 2 days with food and phone calls and
That's
love,
awesome.
and still there to this day. Yeah. But, somebody that genuinely wants to help you and guide you and can help you sidestep, get out of your own way. Because most of the time we get in our own way, right? The biggest struggle all of us have is this space between the ears, right?
Sure.
We get stuck in our heads. Yeah.
So that would encompass a good mentor, someone who's looking out for your best interests, essentially.
Yeah, they don't want anything from you.
Yeah.
They just want to see you succeed.
Yeah.
Right? There's really nothing in it for them.
Right.
Other than I've had the opportunity to guide, younger people other than my children, right? I prefer entrepreneurs, people that are trying to start a business. I think men specifically are not one to reach out and ask for help or look for guidance or be willing to be vulnerable enough to say, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm doing. How do I do this? And, again, when you go, oh, I remember doing that 100 years ago, but then here's what I would do. And
I think that's a big stigma, especially for men. We have a tough time, I would say, specifically being vulnerable, right? That would kind of encompass everything, and saying, I don't know this, or I don't know how to figure this out, or I'm in way over my head. How can I get some help? And I think it's good to, one, obviously mentors are very good. I'm a huge proponent of them. I've had, tens of 20 mentors, in different stages of life, and some of them are, great husbands and fathers, and some of them are great business leaders, and some of them are entrepreneurs, and some of them are, really great Christian leaders. And, I think it's important to have that. But also, if you're in an opportunity to be able to provide that to someone else, in my opinion, I think you should, right? I think that for me, the way I look at it is like, I've been able to experience different things in life. And if I can help someone out, if I can help guide them, if I can help, lead them in any sort of way, even if it's just encouraging words or sending a picture of a sunset and giving them some type of wisdom, I think it's just very beneficial, and it opens that communication gap to allow the vulnerability to be normal and okay, because I believe it is,
I would tell you, I would take it so far as it's actually your responsibility.
Yeah.
You have a responsibility because you were blessed.
Mm-hmm.
You were given gifts. You were given opportunities. You were provided. We have abundance in our life, right? And we're absolutely blessed. And I think one of the things that when I watch that sunrise every day, I actually go to gratitude. I am grateful for this. I'm grateful for this person. I'm grateful for these people, these things, the beauty I'm standing in. And with all of that comes responsibility. Mm-hmm. And we have a responsibility to coach others up and to help others up and to guide them and direct them. And if we have the opportunity and if we're given that opportunity, then it's so rewarding.
Sure.
We're not doing it not looking for anything, but when you see somebody that you've guided succeed, it's gosh, it's one of the best feelings in the world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, and it all goes back to those relationships, right? I mean, even if it's a mentor-mentee relationship or just relationships with your friends. I mean, that type of vulnerability, but also that type of giving and the serving and, being able to help and want to see people succeed. I think that's all encompassed into the depth of a relationship, right?
You talk about vulnerability, and we talk about, men and vulnerability. And I think so many times most men have to get to a place where, they're just crushed
Mm-hmm.
and at their wit's end, or at a place where they're just, they don't know what to do. And then they finally open up.
Shit, I need help.
and yeah, and I used to, as a younger man, I used to see vulnerability as weakness.
Sure.
And
well, that's the stigma that's there.
Right. And I was so wrong.
Right.
There's such power in just being open, right, and being vulnerable, and just being the ability to feel and share and be in that place. Because I think the other person, because you are disarmed,
mm-hmm.
right? So many people show up with an ego and a persona, and I'm bigger than you and stronger than you. And when you show up open, right, you disarm them,
right,
and then they'll share.
Right.
Yeah.
It's reciprocated.
Yes.
Very easily.
Yeah.
All right, so let's get into some rapid fire.
Rapid fire. This is going to be a real rapid fire.
What's something new happening in your life right now?
Something new happening in my life right now. As I was preparing for my new life, I got very, very much into neuroplasticity, rewiring your brain, understanding how we change, because my life is different.
Mm-hmm.
My life is 85% different. I went to Duke University. I got a certification for a health and well-being coach, and I started a website called Life Rewired.
Nice.
To be able to help people, to be able to guide businesses, and mostly relationships and couples and those types of things. So looking at that and looking at writing a book.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have the book lined up, or are you
working on it? I went to a writer's retreat, very, very much out of my comfort zone. Yeah. But we'll see how that goes.
It's good to experience new things like that and kind of push
all
yourself.
New.
Yeah.
My life is 85% different.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your inspiration?
I hope I can continue to grow in life, and I hope I can continue to stay as open as I learned, as open as I was forced to be.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, as open as I am.
What advice would you give your younger self?
Relax. Let it unfold.
What's something that scares you? Here we go to being vulnerable, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, I do so well in so many aspects of my life, but my origin story has me really uncomfortable with interpersonal relationship with someone you love. So when you lose somebody that you were with for 20 years, to trust and
right.
step into that world is, I took all my insecurities and I took all my vulnerabilities when I met Victoria, and I put them aside, right? And I was like, I'm just gonna put them over here. And then when she got sick, and she's gone, now they all came. Now I got to deal with them.
Yeah.
Now I got to go, okay, I need to understand that man.
Right.
And why is he that way? I do really well in many other aspects of my life, but in that aspect of my life, I'm stuck in here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's something that most people don't know about you?
Most people don't. I'm a super sensitive guy. Yeah.
Okay. Do you like that or not like that?
That I'm super sensitive? I mean, I will tell you, I think I've just been an intuitive person.
Sure.
My whole life.
Sure.
I go with my gut. Anytime I ever went against my gut, I knew better. I sometimes I want more for others than they want for themselves, but my gut said different. But I tried to force it. So, the sensitivity piece is I like it. It's almost a superpower, actually.
Yeah. What does success look like for you?
Success for me is being a whole man and the person that I am no different in any aspect of my life. And I'm no different sitting here talking to you, or in the office talking to somebody, or meeting with an owner, or at church on Sunday, or in any genre. I'm the same person.
Sure.
You know, what I say, what I do, what I act, I just across the board.
What's the biggest compliment you've ever received?
I don't receive compliments well.
Yeah, neither do I.
So I probably wouldn't even remember it. That's a hard one.
We'll table that one.
There we go. I was going to say pass.
If you had to ask or tell God one thing, what would it be?
Why?
Any specifics or just why?
Just why?
Just why. Well, man, I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
It has been a really great conversation. Last thing, I want to give you a gift.
Thank you very much.
So we have this. One of our sponsors for the
Awesome.
show is Bryce Knuth with Insurance Office of America. So he wants to make sure that everybody gets one of those. So
Right on. Thank you.
little memorabilia.
Appreciate
for
that.
the end of the show.
Appreciate that.
Man, it's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
I really do believe that you're able to provide some value, and I really enjoy your story and the admiration behind your reputation and your relationships and what you've done with Paul and what you're continuing to do. So I'm excited to see you guys continue to grow and move along. Even though we're semi-competitors, I want to see the best for you and the best success.
Man, there's plenty of room at the top for everybody.
There is.
There's plenty of room. There's plenty to go around.
There is. There is.
Thank you so much for this opportunity. I really appreciate it.
No, of course.
Thank you.
Beyond the Blueprint, it has been a great episode with Paul Goddard at Paul General Contractors. Make sure you like and subscribe for more content like this. Stay tuned till our next video. See you soon.